各位观众大家好，
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Ironclad Irrefutable Evidence seminar series. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and share this program. This is a critical issue related to the well-being and security of each individual, every community, and the entire society. Thank you very much for your attention and support. Our program will present a good amount of explicit cross-checking evidence to prove that the Chinese Communist Party is procuring a large amount of organs by murdering innocent people to turn organ transplantation into a profitable business. First, we want to share a recording with you. 1. A witness testimony from a live organ harvesting site. On December 12, 2009, a former policeman who once served as a guard on the site of the organ harvesting from a living Falun Gong practitioner reported to the World Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong, WOIPFG, that he witnessed the entire process of organ harvesting and revealed shocking details of this tragic and horrendous crime. Time of the reported tragedy, April 9, 2002. On April 9, 2002, in an operating room on the 15th floor of the General Hospital of Shenyang Military Region, the former police officer watched two military doctors extract a female Falun Gong practitioner's organs without administering anesthesia while she was still alive. The victim was a middle school teacher around 30 years old. The doctors killed her after she suffered 1 month of brutal torture, forced feeding, sexual abuse, and rape. The military identification of one of the doctors is 0106069. The location the witness provided was verified by the WOIPFG as a possible site for live organ harvesting during the investigation. The witnesses also disclosed that the Jinzhou Public Security Bureau had murdered many Falun Gong practitioners, and that they claimed afterward that the deaths were caused by suicide or accident. He also said some Falun Gong practitioners' brains were removed, and that there were even more horrendous things done to them. Let's listen to this recording.
If
I'm still alive in the future, please help me spread what I say.
Okay, I promise.
If I die, find others and ask about what I have, or write an article about my story. I'm not trying to make a name for myself, but I want more people like me to speak out and to dare to tell the truth.
That's your goal. You're so great.
I'm not that great. I'm rather despicable. To help the regime maintain their political power, I bribe people, I drink and drive, I beat up those Falun Gong practitioners. While I was at the Public Security Bureau, I used torture to get confessions from Falun Gong practitioners and brutally kicked them. I feel very guilty.
You feel guilty when?
Shortly after I left the military.
Is it because you were deceived?
Yes, I was. When I think back to it now, the practitioners only had to agree to do two things. First, sign a guarantee paper to pledge not to practice anymore. Second, say one sentence to defame Falun Dafa. That's all. As long as they did those two things, they could be released. No matter how hard you beat them up, they just don't do these things.
What were your thoughts then? You felt?
I felt they were tough as steel. We call those who can give up anything for their faith and are very loyal tough as steel in the northeastern dialect. They're worthy of respect. At that time, the deputy chief used his big boot to kick a Falun Gong practitioner in his face, and then repeatedly shocked him with electric batons. During the coldest days of winter, they stripped off their clothes and poured ice-cold water from the refrigerator little by little on their bodies. Female practitioners also had their clothes stripped off and were doused as well. To stop it, all they needed to do was just two easy things, just like that. But they just don't do them, and would rather be sentenced to 7 years, 10 years, or the longest, a life sentence.
You witnessed that happen?
Yeah, I witnessed it firsthand.
When? Was that 2000?
I joined the military when I was 17 years old.
The persecution of Falun Gong has been 10 years. Which year?
2002. Probably 2002.
Which part of Northeast China in 2002?
In Jinzhou City of Liaoning Province, Northeast China.
Oh, what location of Jinzhou? A detention center or a police station?
The Public Security Bureau.
The Public Security Bureau of Jinzhou?
Yes.
It seems you haven't told me the date yet.
April 9th, 2002.
April 9th?
Yes, They started the excision at 5 p.m. on April 9th, and it lasted 3 hours. It had been 1 month already.
What do you mean 1 month already?
1 month of torture to get a confession.
Did the police officers use force to get a confession from a practitioner one time or many times?
Many times. At that time, Wang Lijun, the incumbent chief of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau, issued an executive order to exterminate them completely.
Oh, the Chongqing. Isn't he the one who worked with Bo Xilai to persecute Falun Gong?
Yes, he was in Jinzhou before.
So based on what you've seen, can you estimate how many Falun Gong practitioners have been tortured?
I didn't get to see many, about 20 to 30 people.
20 to 30 people. Did anyone die? Was anyone tortured to death?
Of course. 3 were hanged in the detention center within just 1 week. They directed the detention center to let the head prisoners and gangsters to beat them up as much as they could, and much more than that. Then they would say they committed suicide or had an accident.
Do you still remember their names?
I can only remember 1 or 2 specific names.
The names of the ones who died, can we find it on the Minghui website?
You can find it.
3 were hanged in the Jinzhou Public Security Bureau.
Jinzhou Detention Center, close to Nanshan Prison. After they were done, everyone received a bonus of 5,000 yuan plus other items like electric frying pan, etc. All kinds of gifts. I didn't spend a single penny of my 5,000 yuan and donated all of it to print the 9 commentaries on the Communist Party. Basically, I donated through the Minghui website. At that time, I already came to my senses after seeing too much.
You came to your senses when you received the money. That's quite a short time.
It is quite short. As a police officer, when I saw no matter how you beat them, they refused to surrender for the sake of their faith and belief. Whether it is a cult or not, it's not easy for them to do so when they have elderly parents and young children at home. The murderers we arrested would finally confess anyway after they went through our interrogation methods. But when the military doctors opened them up and removed their kidneys with no anesthetic, they didn't even make a sound. They only sweated a lot. And even then, they still said, Falun Dafa is great.
Did you see these with your own eyes?
I can't disclose anymore. That would easily expose myself.
So the allegations related to Su Jiatun are true?
Of course. It happened to Su Jiatun, Shenyang. Not only Falun Gong practitioners, but also all other inmates who commit crimes are brutally beaten up. Su Jiatun is the shadiest place in Liaoning.
Yes, they harvest organs there.
It is the evilest place.
So not only the Su Jiatun-like places, but also the detention centers or places where they harvest organs.
What they're doing is tightly covered up, and they only use 2 to 3 people to secure the site to supposedly protect the military doctors' safety when they harvest organs. I don't think they sell all the organs, and some are stored, and I don't know where they will send them to. I saw what happened.
Of course they sell them. Why do they need to stock them up?
Corneas, kidneys, hearts. They even removed brains. I don't know why they did that.
How many times did you witness it?
I only saw only one time.
You didn't dare to watch it again?
They didn't use me any longer since then.
Why?
I scolded them loudly at that time. Are you still humans? Are you from Kuomintang or Communist Party? Those were my exact words. After that, the director of political office of the Public Security Bureau asked for a talk and gave me a good deal of criticism. He said, you aren't suitable enough to be a police officer and should be sent to the grassroots to get training. So I wasn't at the public security system anymore, and I started to work for a government agency.
Very inhuman.
After the scalpel stabbed her in the chest. The blood was squirting and splattering out. It wasn't...
Was the person you saw male or female?
A woman.
A young woman?
30-something.
Was she still shouting, Falun Dafa is great?
Still shouting.
Would you tell me what she said?
At that time, her body was covered by countless wounds and scars after at least 1 week of interrogation and brutal torture. She was disoriented from the electric baton shocks. The beating left her with a debilitated body and she was almost lifeless. She didn't eat, so we force-fed her. When she didn't want it, we pinched her nose and poured milk into her stomach in order to keep her alive. As you know, her mouth would open if the nose was pinched. She lost more than 16 pounds within 7 days. By then, I'm not sure, probably some office of Public Security Department of Liaoning Province, a very secretive office, sent 2 people. One was a military doctor from the General Hospital of Shenyang Military Command, the PLA. The other one was a graduate of the 2nd Military Medical University. Basically, one was older and the other was young. She was taken to an operating room of a psychiatric hospital where they worked on her. They didn't give her any anesthesia. When they slit her chest with a scalpel, their hands did not shake at all. If it were me, my hands would be definitely shaking. I carried a gun when I served in the armed police force, participated in military drills, and have seen lots of dead bodies. But when I saw their responses, I have to say these military doctors are real pieces of work. Their hands did not tremble at all. As soon as they just pulled up their masks, they cut her open. We stood on each side as a guard with a gun. She erupted with a howling sound when they cut her open. That woman shouted, "Falun Dafa is great."
She shouted, "Falun Dafa is great," when they stabbed her in the chest.
After she howled abruptly, she yelled, "Falun Dafa is great." She said, "You're killing me, one person, but can you kill hundreds of millions of us who are being persecuted for the true faith?" At that point, the military doctor paused and then looked over at me and my supervisor. Before my supervisor nodded his head, he continued with the blood vessels. They took her heart out first and then excised her kidneys. When they cut the blood vessels around her heart with scissors, she was convulsing with a horrifying sound. I can try to imitate the sound for you, but I wouldn't be able to mimic it exactly. It's a ripping sound anyway. And then she was making... So her mouth was wide open. Her eyes went round and widened, and her mouth was opened wide. Oh no, I don't want to talk anymore.
I understand. Do you know her name?
Her name is... I can't say it. I can't say it because only a few of us were on site then. How about this way? Let me find a pseudonym for her. How about 雪玫瑰? Her name is related to one kind of flower. We may call her 雪玫瑰.
We can call her 雪玫瑰.
Or 雪玫 for short.
Fine, we can call her 雪玫.
She was a teacher back then, a middle school teacher. I think her son should be 12 years old this year. Her husband doesn't have the abilities or means to help her and is probably a factory worker. Prior to her death, she experienced a lot of humiliation. Many of the policemen were very perverted. They molested her with different foreign objects, like pliers, vaginal speculum, and other things. I don't know where they got the equipment from. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw it myself. I regret I didn't take a picture of them. They sexually abused her. She was a bit pretty, kind of pretty. They raped her. Too many.
Did you witness this at the Public Security Bureau where you were working before?
We didn't do these kinds of things at the Public Security Bureau. It was at a training center, which was behind a hotel. They rented the 10 rooms of the upper floor of a building, a small villa-like building.
A black jail?
Kind of.
If they arrested Falun Gong practitioners, would they send them there?
Yes.
It served as a holding location before formal sentencing.
We constantly change holding locations. I didn't do anything to her. I didn't do anything to harm her. I just couldn't save her. I couldn't save her. All the other police officers' ranks were higher than mine. They all outranked me. I couldn't save her.
You were very young back then.
I was only 22 years old.
And you thought this was something the party assigned to you, and you should be loyal to your duty.
Honestly, I never felt good about the party from the beginning to the end. Earning a living is the only purpose. It is for being promoted to a senior position later. Very selfish intentions.
Today, you shared your deepest feeling, the most remarkable treasure in your heart. You poured it all out.
I'm only telling this to you. I rarely say anything like this to anyone else.
This is surely the darkest time, but you're such a real man with a good conscience that you like to...
I want to give you practitioners a piece of advice. Don't expect the CCP to do anything for you. Don't expect it. Don't be too kind. Don't be too benevolent. I feel you're just too kind. These practitioners are truly too kind.
We understand what you mean. However, in a time good and evil coexist, we believe the only way to eliminate the evilest thing is through the greatest compassion and the greatest kindness.
How can you act like that when you deal with the devil? The devil would never. They're demons, real demons. I didn't believe until I witnessed it. Their strength was too overwhelming. Think about it. How much endurance a human has to have when a sharp scalpel is cutting your chest little by little. Your heart is beating inside, and the blood is squirting and splattering out. There are much more evil things than this. I feel so sorry for her. Every time when my thought went back to that moment, I feel so sorry for her.
God has mercy and is observing everything. When you had the intention to save her, she should have been able to feel it.
My gun was loaded at that time. I even planned how to. I had 10 bullets loaded, and there were 5 persons on site. I wanted to gun them down, one by one, all down.
We believe that most people who have participated in organ harvesting, like this witness, have committed these crimes against humanity due to the long-term brainwashing and coercion of the CCP criminal group. Therefore, those of us at the WOIPFG sincerely hope that all those involved in live organ harvesting will cherish this final opportunity for atonement and report the truth to the WOIPFG. At this important moment in history, please stand on the side of justice and choose a bright future for yourself and your family. We warn all individuals who are involved in persecuting Falun Gong practitioners. The persecution is a crime of genocide and a crime against humanity. It is the same crime as that of the Nazi war criminals. No excuse can be used as a reason for absolution. All participants must bear personal responsibilities. Surrendering yourself and confessing, reporting the crimes of others, and striving for redemption is the only way out. What we just heard is a common case of murdering Falun Gong practitioners through harvesting their organs. We want to emphasize that the live organ harvesting we are talking about is neither typical forced organ harvesting nor harvesting organs from dead people. It is excising human organs from living, normal, healthy, and kind-hearted people while they are fully conscious. It is a state-sanctioned crime aimed at exterminating a faith group. I believe that everyone would be shocked after hearing this testimony. If you listen to more of our recordings, you will learn more about these unbelievable cases and understand how the CCP operates its live organ harvesting business in China. 2. An introduction to WOIPFG. The World Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong was founded on January 20, 2003. It is based in New York City, USA, with branches in Europe, Australia, Asia, and Canada. The mission of the WOIPFG is to investigate the criminal misconduct of institutions and individuals who have persecuted Falun Gong, to bring such in-depth investigations to full disclosure, to exercise the fundamental principles of humanity, and to restore and uphold justice in society. The principle of our investigation is that those who committed crimes shall be brought to justice. Individuals shall bear responsibility for their involvement in their organization's crimes, and those instigating the persecution shall bear the same responsibility as those physically carrying out the persecution. According to this principle, and to uproot state-sanctioned crimes, the criminal conduct of all individuals within organizations, units, and departments involved in the persecution will be thoroughly investigated and brought to justice, thus fully reflecting judicial fairness and safeguarding human morality and conscience. 3. An introduction to Ironclad Irrefutable Evidence series. This program will use a lot of conclusive evidence to expose the heinous crime of the CCP's large-scale live organ harvesting, killing innocent people, and seeking huge profits. After 1999, China quickly rose to be the world's largest organ transplantation country. The abrupt increase in organ supply volume drew attention from the international community, but the CCP hasn't given a reasonable explanation for it. On March 9, 2006, a whistleblower shocked the world by publicly confirming that the CCP had set up a large-scale concentration camp in Sujatun and harvested the organs of those detained, and that those killed were cremated in the boiler room of a hospital. The WOIPFG immediately started a systematic investigation in mainland China on the following day. As of July of 2020, we have published 730 recordings of telephone investigations and more than 2,000 documents. The subjects of the investigation include 5 incumbent and former standing committee members of the Chinese Communist Party Central Politburo, a vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, a defense minister, a former director of the Health Division of the General Logistics Department of the People's Liberation Army, as well as many court officials, officials of the Political and Legal Affairs Commission, and 610 office officials. Based on investigation, the WOIPFG has drawn the following conclusions. Since the CCP started its crackdown of Falun Gong in 1999, the CCP criminal group, headed by the former CCP leader Jiang Zemin, has controlled the entire state apparatus through the Political and Legal Affairs Commission and the 610 system to use organ harvesting to murder Falun Gong practitioners on a large scale. The number of victims is so enormous that it is beyond imagination. Some hospitals are suspected of killing tens of thousands of people each year. In addition, Falun Gong practitioners are used in experiments that are prohibited to be used on living humans, and after death, their bodies have been plastinated and used in body exhibition tours around the world. This has been going on for more than 2 decades. Live organ harvesting is generally carried out in the major hospitals in various provinces and cities across China. Nearly 900 hospitals have been involved, and nearly 10,000 organ transplant surgeons have directly participated in this crime. However, these are just some identifiable numbers from the WOIPFG's own investigation, and the actual numbers are much higher. This is an unprecedented evil on this planet. What evidence will we present? We have state reports, archives, media reports, medical papers, witness testimonies in the form of original documents, web page screenshots, and the WOIPFG archived links. We also have audio MP3 files and transcripts from our telephone investigations, along with the investigation times, telephone numbers, and the subject's personal background information. We will present how the evidence was systematically collected and provide background information and analysis of the logical relationships between the different pieces of evidence. The first and second volumes of the newly released book, Ironclad, Irrefutable Evidence, have the major pieces of evidence collected from March 2006 to January 2020. Lastly, I'd like to remind you that several recordings of major phone investigations will be presented in episode 1 through 5. Starting from episode 6, we will begin to use our collected information to detail the reality of the shady industry of live organ harvesting. Our seminar series will expose the CCP's nationwide campaign of mass killing that has been going on for more than 20 years. Please watch our next episode, Episode 2, A Whistleblower's Exposure of Live Organ Harvesting. In particular, please note that this is a worldwide unrestricted war without gunpowder. The CCP's crime of live organ harvesting from Falun Gong practitioners not only continues, but also has spread throughout society. For example, in 2013, a 6-year-old child, Little Binbin, in Shanxi, went missing, and 2 days later was found with eyes gouged out for the cornea. Dozens of university students in Wuhan disappeared for no reason in recent years, and countless children and women go missing every year. Live organ harvesting has become a threat to everyone. Perhaps as we are talking, many kind and innocent people are being put onto operation tables for their organs, and also many have been detained in dark prisons for many years, and their hearts, livers, or kidneys are waiting to be excised in an indescribably cruel way at any moment. How urgently they need rescue from the outside world. How excruciating it is for their parents, brothers, and sisters to bear the pain of missing their loved ones for years. Live organ harvesting signifies an unprecedented atrocity that has never existed on this planet. We cannot heartlessly ignore the fact that the Chinese Communist Party is ravaging and killing people. We cannot watch the CCP flagrantly destroy the bottom line of morality with lies, coercion, and financial lures that aim to silence and lead the entire human race to fundamental destruction without taking action. We urge everyone to like, subscribe, and spread the word about our program. Let your family, relatives, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and anybody else in your social circle know the facts of the CCP's mass organ harvesting from living Falun Gong practitioners. Please tell the whole world the truth and stand together to put a stop to the CCP's crimes against humanity. Once again, this is a critical issue related to the well-being and security of each individual, every community, and our entire society. Thank you very much for your attention and support. See you next time. World Organization to Investigate the Persecution of Falun Gong, WOIPFG, was founded on January 20th, 2003. It is based in New York with branches in Europe, Australia, Asia, and Canada. WOIPFG's mission is to investigate the criminal conduct of all institutions, organizations, and individuals involved in the persecution of Falun Gong. To bring such investigations, no matter how long it takes, no matter how far and deep we have to search, to full closure, to exercise fundamental principles of humanity, and to restore and uphold justice in society. The principle of our investigation holds that those who have committed crimes shall be brought to justice. Individuals shall bear the same responsibility for their involvement in their organization's crimes, and those instigating the persecution shall bear the same responsibility of those who have physically carried out the persecution. We intend to uproot state-sanctioned crimes and safeguard human morality. The criminal conduct of all individuals within organizations, units, and departments involved in the persecution will be thoroughly investigated and brought to justice.